Alright, so in order to make these chocolate chip cookies, I'm going to adapt the recipe from the back of the Nestle Toll House chocolate chip cookies. So there's going to be a few notable differences. We've been doing this for a while in my family. The first being, as you can see here, I'm measuring out flour. The recipe itself calls for 2¼ cups of all-purpose flour. However, we found that adding more flour kind of makes them a little bit better, so I just went with 3 right off the bat here. A few more differences that we'll see in the future is I'm going to actually use double the baking soda, so that's going to be 2 teaspoons instead of 1, and then double the vanilla, which is also 2 teaspoons. So once I have the flour all measured out, I can begin to start on the other dry ingredients, starting with the 2 teaspoons of baking soda. Like I said before, that's doubled from the original recipe. 1 teaspoon of salt. We're going to mix that together, get the dry ingredients kind of mixed together. Then we'll start on the somewhat wet ingredients with 2 sticks of softened butter, which is about a cup. And then we're going to start with then we're going to go on to 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, making sure to level that out. I used a 1/2 cup and a 1/4 cup to get that 3/4 measurement. Then we move on to brown sugar. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to do 1/2 cup and then a 1/4 cup, making sure to pack it down because it's brown sugar, and that's kind of how that works. And then from there, I only measured 1 teaspoon of vanilla because I am very intelligent and forgot that I was actually doing 2. So it's just the regular recipe amount there. So we're going to cream that together, get it nice and mixed up, crack 2 eggs. We're going to add 1 at a time, so I just made sure to add each yolk. Make sure that those get mixed in, and then you could gradually start adding the flour into the mixture to thicken up the dough and actually, make the dough. We're just going to keep adding that in gradually, making sure it's all incorporated in before adding more. Then I can stop, empty the paddle out with my hands, which got very messy. Would not recommend. After the spatula was too small, didn't work at all. And then you're going to do a 1.5 bags chocolate chips, which is going to be 2 cups because a bag is 1½ cups. From there, I decided to try and mix it again with a spatula, as you'll see here shortly. Once I get the other one in, that did not work at all, kind of. So I just went to a more rigorous spoon mixing. From here, we can begin to scoop the cookie dough out. I made sure to kind of keep them spaced out 2 fingers. And as we'll see later, this didn't really work because my cookies were a bit large, but I kind of wanted them a little bit bigger. And I used spoons because my mom, the cookie master, claimed that if I touched them with my hands, they would get more grease on them. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to entail the wrath or invoke the wrath of the cookie master, so I will do it how she says to do it. So I began to scoop those out. I actually made 2 trays of these, except like the smart person I am, I forgot to record the second time around. And then I popped them in the oven at 375 degrees Fahrenheit, baked them for about 12-ish minutes, scooped them out. I had to let them cool because they were soft and they needed to harden up or they would just break apart and turn into nothingness in your hands, which is not ideal when you're eating a cookie. You don't want it to be super crunchy, but you want it to be able to hold somewhat of a structure. So I let those sit on the drying rack, and then I went to make another batch. So as you can see here with the second batch, these ones didn't turn out as great. They kind of got squished together because I guess they were spaced a little bit too close, and then I cooked them for a little bit too long, as you can tell, because they're a little bit more brown on top. But they still tasted fine. They turned out just as good as the other ones, maybe just a little bit crunchier. But afterwards, after they cooled, my family and I, we tried them. They were pretty good. Not as good as my mom's because that takes years to perfect, and I have not practiced it for years. Overall, I would say this is a success.